was living there?
Yeah, Lauren was my neighbor. We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I mean, the last time anyone heard from her was an email that she sent out, and no one's heard from her since.
Macon, Georgia, was not a city people associated with danger. It was quiet, predictable, the kind of place where time moved slowly and routines rarely changed. Streets emptied early in the evening, neighbors nodded politely. Crime existed, as it did everywhere, but it felt distant, something that happened somewhere else. For students at Mercer University's School of Law, Macon was ideal. It was calm enough for focus, small enough to feel familiar, and safe enough that fear never crossed their minds. Lauren Giddings believed that too. At 27 years old, Lauren was nearing the end of a long, carefully planned journey. She was intelligent, disciplined, and deeply principled, qualities that had defined her since childhood. The oldest of 3 sisters, she had always been the responsible one, the anchor of the family. She remembered birthdays, checked in without being asked, and carried herself with a quiet confidence that made people trust her almost immediately. Lauren wanted to become a public defender, not for prestige or money, but because she believed the justice system should protect those without power. That belief had brought her from Maryland to Mercer Law School, where she quickly earned a reputation as a serious student and a kind presence. Professors respected her. Classmates relied on her. She lived at Barristers Hall, an apartment complex reserved for law students, located directly across the street from the law school itself. It was a short walk to class, the library, and the life she was building. Her unit, apartment 2, was modest but comfortable. It was supposed to be a temporary space, a place to work, to prepare, to move on from. Outside of school, Lauren's life was stable. She was in a long-distance relationship with David Van Diver, a corporate attorney she had met years earlier. Despite the age difference, their connection was strong. David admired Lauren's maturity and moral clarity. She challenged him intellectually, grounded him emotionally. He had already decided he wanted to marry her. In June of 2011, Lauren graduated from Mercer Law School. It was a proud moment. Her family traveled to Macon to watch her walk across the stage. Her dog, Butterbean, was there too. Lauren rarely went anywhere without him. The ceremony marked the end of years of sacrifice and the beginning of something new, but the pressure was not over. The Georgia bar exam loomed only weeks away. Lauren chose to remain in Macon after graduation so she could continue studying in a familiar environment. Barristers Hall, once filled with classmates, had grown quieter. Many students had moved out. Others were traveling or celebrating. Lauren stayed behind, committing herself to preparation. Her days became repetitive. Wake up, study, walk Butterbean, study again. Occasionally attend church, rarely socialize. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, something began to feel wrong. Lauren noticed small things, objects that didn't seem to be where she left them. A vague sense that the apartment felt different when she returned home. Nothing obvious, nothing she could explain, but the feeling persisted. More unsettling than the physical details was the sense of being watched. It wasn't constant, and it wasn't dramatic. It was a quiet awareness that surfaced when she was alone, especially at night. Lauren tried to dismiss it. She told herself she was exhausted, she was isolated, she was under immense pressure. Still, the unease followed her. Lauren mentioned it to her sister in passing, careful not to sound alarmist. She admitted she didn't have proof. She couldn't point to a specific incident. But she couldn't shake the feeling either. On June 25, 2011, Lauren finally put her fears into writing. She sent an email to David, explaining that she felt uncomfortable in her apartment, that something about it no longer felt safe. David reassured her. He suggested it might be stress, or maybe local teenagers causing minor disturbances. He reminded her how hard she had been pushing herself. Lauren accepted his reassurance. Around the same time, she sent a message to friends and family explaining that she would be unreachable for a while. She told them she was hunkering down to study for the bar exam and asked them not to worry if she didn't respond. It was practical, responsible, entirely in character. No one realized it would be the last message they ever received from her. Days passed without contact. At first, no one panicked. Lauren was known for isolating when she studied. Silence was expected, but the silence stretched on longer than usual. Calls went unanswered, text messages unread. Eventually, her phone stopped ringing altogether and began going straight to voicemail. Concern spread quietly, the way dread often does, slowly, reluctantly. Lauren's sister Caitlin, away on her honeymoon, tried calling repeatedly. She sent photos, messages. There was no response. Lauren's best friend Katie felt the same unease and tried reaching her again and again. Something was wrong. Caitlin contacted one of Lauren's classmates, Ashley, and asked her to check on the apartment. Ashley tried calling Lauren before going over. There was no answer. She and her boyfriend drove to Barrister's Hall. Lauren's car was still parked outside. Using a spare key, they entered apartment 2. Inside, the space looked mostly ordinary. Some items were scattered, but Lauren was preparing to move out and relocate with David the next day. It wasn't unusual. It wasn't alarming, until Ashley noticed the calendar. June 29th was circled. Lauren was scheduled to move out on June 30th. Ashley continued looking. Lauren's purse was there. Her law books, her laptop, her cell phone. Things Lauren would never leave behind voluntarily. The realization settled heavily in the apartment. Lauren hadn't gone anywhere. Friends and classmates were contacted. A small search began, inside the building, around campus, nearby streets. Joe, Lauren's former boyfriend, joined the effort. Everyone retraced steps, shared timelines, tried to make sense of the silence. The last confirmed sighting of Lauren was days earlier at an end-of-year party. She had left the next morning. No one had noticed anything unusual. The last communication anyone could trace was her email to David, expressing fear about her apartment. By the morning of June 30th, the truth was unavoidable. The police were called. Officers arrived at Barrister's Hall and began their assessment. There were no signs of forced entry, no shattered glass, no overturned furniture, no obvious struggle. But instinct told them what logic could not. A woman did not simply disappear and leave everything behind. Investigators conducted a methodical search of the apartment. As part of standard procedure, they used luminol to detect traces of blood. Most rooms showed nothing. The bathroom was different. When the lights dimmed and the chemical spray was applied, the bathtub glowed, revealing extensive traces of blood, far more than could be explained by an accident. Enough to suggest that someone had bled heavily, and that someone had taken great care to clean it afterward. In that moment, the investigation changed. Lauren Giddings was no longer considered missing. She was presumed dead, and whoever had taken her had done so quietly, inside an apartment that no one ever suspected. Once the bathroom at apartment 2 revealed what had been hidden, the atmosphere at Barrister's Hall changed instantly. What had once felt like a quiet student complex became a crime scene. Yellow tape sealed off the entrance. Police cars lined the street. Neighbors, law students trained to analyze facts and logic, stood in small groups, whispering in disbelief. Someone had been hurt inside that apartment, and whoever was responsible had been close enough to clean up afterward. Investigators expanded the search beyond Lauren's unit. They canvassed the building, knocking on doors, speaking with residents, collecting timelines. Most tenants reported nothing unusual, no screams, no disturbances, no strangers. Barrister's Hall had been eerily quiet during the days Lauren vanished. But one resident stood out almost immediately. Stephen McDaniel lived directly next door to Lauren Giddings. Stephen was also a Mercer Law graduate. He had completed the program at the same time as Lauren.
And she just recently graduated from Mercer?
Yeah, she and I we were both JD students. We graduated back in May.
Though the two were not close friends. To most people, Stephen was unremarkable, thin, soft-spoken, socially awkward. He had a habit of lingering in conversations too long, of smiling at moments that didn't require it. Some classmates described him as odd but harmless. Others remembered moments that, in hindsight, felt unsettling. Stephen told police he had last seen Lauren shortly after graduation. He claimed they were friendly neighbors, nothing more. He said he had no idea where she might be. His tone was calm, cooperative. Too calm. As the investigation intensified, police searched nearby dumpsters and wooded areas around the apartment complex. What they found confirmed their worst fears. Inside a dumpster not far from Barrister's Hall, investigators discovered a human torso wrapped in black trash bags. The body had been dismembered. The head, arms, and legs were missing. Dental records soon confirmed what no one wanted to hear. The remains belonged to Lauren Giddings. The news devastated her family. For days, they had clung to hope that Lauren was hiding, hurt, unable to reach out. That hope collapsed under the weight of reality. The manner of her death was not only violent but deliberate. Someone had gone to great lengths to erase her. The question was no longer what had happened. It was who. As police continued searching, media attention exploded. News vans crowded the street. Reporters interviewed classmates, neighbors, anyone who would speak. The story of a law graduate murdered just days after finishing school captured national attention. Stephen McDaniel noticed the cameras, and he wanted to be part of the story. On July 1st, a local news station aired a segment about Lauren's disappearance before her body had been publicly identified. During the broadcast, a man stood behind the reporter, watching intently. His face was pale, his expression fixed. It was Stephen McDaniel. The reporter asked him for a comment. Stephen stepped forward eagerly. He spoke about Lauren with an intensity that felt misplaced. He described her as kind, intelligent, and focused. He insisted he was worried, deeply worried. Then, mid-sentence, something changed. Behind the reporter, a police officer walked past carrying a trash bag recovered from the dumpster. Stephen saw it. His eyes locked onto the bag. His face drained of color. His breathing changed. He stopped speaking. For a moment, it looked as though he might collapse. Without explanation, he turned and walked away from the camera. The footage aired nationwide. To investigators, it was not grief. It was recognition. Police obtained a warrant to search Stephen McDaniel's apartment. Inside, they found evidence that painted a disturbing picture. Hidden in his room were personal items belonging to Lauren, items that had never left her apartment willingly. They also uncovered something far more chilling. Stephen had secretly recorded Lauren. Multiple times. Using a camera hidden through the wall of his apartment, he had filmed her without her knowledge, capturing private moments inside her own bedroom. The sense of being watched that Lauren had described was not imagined. It was real. Confronted with the evidence, Stephen was brought in for questioning. Over hours of interrogation, his story unraveled. Finally, he confessed. Stephen admitted that he had been obsessed with Lauren for months. He watched her routines. He listened through the walls. He convinced himself that he knew her, that he deserved her attention. On the night of June the 26th, Stephen entered Lauren's apartment. There were no signs of forced entry because she had known him, trusted him. An argument followed. Stephen strangled Lauren in her bedroom. After killing her, he did not panic. He planned. Stephen dismembered her body in the bathtub, using knives he had prepared in advance. He cleaned the apartment thoroughly, attempting to remove all traces of blood. He disposed of her remains in dumpsters around the complex, believing they would never be found. Then he returned to his apartment and waited. Stephen McDaniel was charged with murder and mutilation of a corpse. Prosecutors initially sought the death penalty, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and the extreme violation of trust. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The recordings, the physical evidence, the confession. Faced with the possibility of execution, Stephen accepted a plea deal. In 2014, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Lauren Giddings was laid to rest by her family, surrounded by those who loved her. She never became the public defender she dreamed of being. She never took the bar exam. She never moved in with David. The proposal ring he had planned to give her was never used. In the aftermath, Barristers Hall changed. Security measures were increased. Students became more cautious. Doors that once stayed unlocked were closed at night. But for Lauren's family, the damage could never be repaired. Lauren had sensed danger. She had felt it in the quiet moments, in the unease she couldn't explain. She had spoken up, carefully, rationally, only to doubt herself. The man who killed her was not a stranger. He was already there, living next door, watching, waiting. And in a place built for justice, Lauren Giddings was denied the very thing she believed in most.